So imagine this. You just finished your first week of college ever, and it's Friday night, and you and your dorm mate decide to kick off the weekend by going to this big party at a frat house. You guys get over there, you're excited to hang out, have a good time, but once you open the door, you just can't see. You can't see because it is super dark, and it's like your vision's blurry. It's like there's fog in the house. Well, then you realize you're surrounded by a bunch of vapors and smokers. I'm here to talk about both the pros and the cons of vaping. We will be talking about the history of vaping and how it came to be so popular, the negative effects it has on the youth's brain development, the negative effects it has on addiction and the younger generation, but also we will be talking about the positives it has on stopping people from having an addiction or their current addiction to the much more harmful form of smoking tobacco cigarettes. And we will also be talking about the positive it has on being a good stress reliever. So first things first, the question still remains. How did juuling become so popular? How did juuling even become a thing? Well, I'm going to show you the history and the trials and errors of what you now know as the Juul. In 1927, a man named Joseph Robertson dreamed up what might be the very first, what he would call the electric vaporizer. He thought this would do very well for medical compounds, and he wanted to create something that would make it easier to smoke without the possibility of being burned. But it didn't stick around. Then, almost 40 years later, another man named Hubert Gilbert created what he called a smokeless, non-tobacco cigarette. But nobody in the manufacturer company would buy his product. There were other many attempts to creating the perfect e-cigarette that would stick around. But the same person named Jed Rose, who invented the first nicotine patch, had also said that he believes the e-cigarette was too early for its time. It wasn't until 2003 that an alternative way to smoking was invented and it actually stuck around. A Chinese pharmacist named Han Lik was also a smoker and invented the e-cigarette known and used by millions today. Lik decided and was inspired to create this e-cigarette after his father died after being infected by the dangers of smoking and was diagnosed with lung cancer. Lik himself was inhaling up to 3 packs a day. So Han Lik thought with the invention of his e-cigarette that it would help him and satisfy his craving for nicotine and tobacco. Well, unfortunately, things went south and he got addicted to both the cigarette and the e-cigarette, just like many people in the world today. As years have gone by, many people don't smoke regular cigarettes as much, but the younger generations are now extremely addicted to e-cigarettes. Almost all of these smokers don't know or don't want to know the real dangers to these addictions. The liquid, or also known as the juice the e-cig contains, is a combination of very dangerous and very harmful chemical components, including nicotine and particles of a tobacco plant, nitrogen, and other things. All these ingredients are supposed to serve as a quote-unquote replacement for nicotine, but it has caused a strong addiction to these e-cigarettes. With it being highly addictive, it has also become very socially acceptable. So a lot of people and kids are peer pressured into beginning this habit, and it just sticks around with them because people have often gotten bullied who don't smoke, and people who do smoke think it's cool and use it as a way to connect and socialize with their friends. Another thing that makes these so dangerous and so addictive is their flavors. A lot of companies have come out with very tasty and tropical flavors that have been known to increase the addiction, and also they hold some dangerous chemicals as well, like they cause chemicals that are linked to serious lung disease, volatile organic compounds, some cancer-causing chemicals, and heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead, which when inhaled deeply can cause problems not only into the lungs and diaphragm but also within the heart. Now diving into how it affects young adolescents' brain. is that when kids start to smoke, it's typically around middle school and high school, and it lasts up until they're early to mid adult, which in middle school, that these are their prime years, and this is the prime for their development. And when this is infected by the harms of e-cigarettes, it could cause a lot of things like ADHD, impulse control issues, and susceptible to hard substance use. So not only will this addiction to e-cigarettes cause something harmful for not for your lungs, but it would also cause an even stronger addiction and a stronger want for much harder, much more dangerous drugs. So, on the contrary to all the dangers that are obviously known and not so obviously known by society, there are actually positives to e cigarettes. It has been argued that smoking has actually helped to reduce stress. And the reason it has helped to reduce stress is because of the neurological effects that it has on the brain. And when you are smoking and you have this sense of satisfaction and calmness, the neurological effects of nicotine have been able to demonstrate in a group of non-smokers during anger provocation. Research suggested that nicotine may alter the brain activity areas that are involved in the inhibition negative emotions such as anger. So when smoking, in short, the brain is tricked into this sense of satisfaction, and that there is this neurological effect that calms down the part of your brain that is being lightened up by either anger, stress, anxiety, anything like that. This study was done by a group of scientists in the Science Daily website, also done in the Harvard labs. Another positive is that there have been facts and studies shown that e-cigarettes indeed have prevented others from continuing an addiction to smoking cigarettes. Yes, there are many things, negative things that are said about how people can get addicted to e-cigarettes once they started, and that this will only increase their addiction for smoking, but it in fact has stopped many smokers. In fact, over half of the smokers who began smoking e-cigarettes have slowly started to stop and diminish their craving and have stopped altogether. So they say that once they started smoking the e-cigarette, they got the satisfaction they needed, and then there's just like the switch that they didn't need it anymore. And eventually they stopped smoking both regular cigarettes and the e-cigarettes. Today I have given you a lot of information, and it's up to you to decide on what you want to do with it. I've given you the negative effects that vaping has on the human body, but I also given you some positives. And a lot of people like to argue only the negatives, like to deem it only negative, it's only bad for you, it's only this, it's only that. But there are a lot of positive things about the e-cigarette that a lot of people don't like to really know or talk about, because then it contradicts the fact that it's dangerous, it could kill you, blah, 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 blah. Yes, but so can a hamburger. So can driving. You know, there's a lot of pros and cons to a lot of things. And so I just wanted to shed some light on both the negative and the positive effects on vaping. So I hope you leave here today well informed, and I hope this helps your decision the next time you decide to not